Hello, sports fans. Welcome on in. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. So glad you could join our show as always. Always bringing sports to you the way you like them, and that's Down and Dirty. So if you're ready to get down and dirty, let's do it. And don't worry about it. By the time we're done, we'll get all cleaned up and move on with our day. A lot of interesting things always happening in sports. Always love to give my perspective and take on things. And I ran across this article from ESPN about the top 25 portal classes, the way too early top 25 portal classes. And it was just fascinating to me to see kind of what the thought process was for these teams. So I wanted to go through it because it's very telling. It says a lot. And I think the number one thing, but as I kind of get into this, as I looked over it, it's like quarterbacks are king, right? I mean, that's just what it is in college football. Fernando Mendoza, what he did at Indiana, and I don't think it was just him. I think it was him in the right situation, with the right system, the right coach, really the right time. And I don't know how much Indiana got into Fernando Mendoza's personality, his mindset, all of this stuff, but there was just something. There was like this just kind of added juice, and I'm going to go down rabbit hole for just a minute because this is something else I was thinking about. You have these quarterbacks, right? And so there's a whole slew of them who have actually had to have court proceedings and rulings in order to go to new schools. Very 11th hour decisions in the transfer portal window that I kind of rolled my eyes at, and I think it's a little bit unfair. I mean, it's within the rules, and Miami, of course, in their situation, and they were in the playoffs, so they are a little bit behind the eight ball. But these quarterbacks are fascinating, and they make a huge move right in the portal. And speaking of Miami, you think of Carson Beck a year ago when he transferred there. I mean, Carson Beck was considered one of the top rated quarterbacks in the country, and he got to Miami. You're like, not looking so great for Miami. And then he really came on late in the year, and that's the scary thing, I think, with these quarterbacks in the portal. But the rabbit hole I want to go down for just a second was on the transition between college and professional. There's just something about a quarterback that has the it factor that allows them to get to that next level. So here you have these quarterbacks jumping all over college football. And I really wonder, and I know it's early because it's a very new thing that's happening. I wonder the impact this is going to have on these quarterbacks as they go into the pros. When you go from one situation, I look at Jaden Daniels, who started at Arizona State, went to LSU, and then really his first year in the NFL was amazing. His second year, not so much, and a lot of it injured and whatever. But and it remains to be seen. Is he kind of one of those one hit wonders? Is he kind of C.J. Stroud? Because it was a very similar situation in that just from his success early on. But I wonder what kind of impact this moving around, does it actually help them? Does it make them a lot better? You look at Cam Ward, who incarnate and Word, and then he goes to Washington State, and then he goes to Miami, and a very talented player. Had a really tough rookie year, but is the moving around, does that really have an impact on these players? Does it help in their maturation into the pros or not? Or it'd just be fascinating kind of as you gather more data throughout time to see if these guys actually pan out. And I don't know if they will or not, but it's something certainly worth following. But there's a certain it factor, and Fernando Mendoza had that it factor at the end of the day for Indiana in college. But I'm talking about going these college quarterbacks who go to the pros, and they they either pan out or they don't. And speaking of Indiana, I think of a player, Trent Green, who was a guy, I don't think he was highly drafted. I don't think he was a guy that people said, oh yeah, this guy's really gonna blow the doors off it in the NFL. And he had quite a successful career in the NFL. You look at Brock Purdy, who was not very highly regarded. You look at a lot of quarterbacks through time, Joe Montana, you could argue Tom Brady, they have it. And I would love to know what it is, because it's certainly not measurable. Because if it was measurable, all these guys would be lined up as the first picks in the draft, and they weren't. And there's just something about, and I believe it's a mindset. I believe it's ability, and it's to me really what it is handling pressure and being able to accurately deliver a football on time and do it, when the money's on the line, when it all really it's not crumbling under the pressure of everything, but it's being able to it's this calm in the chaos, and but it's also an ability not only to just mentally be calm, but to physically perform. And it's a fascinating combination of, how does your body function in those situations. And you look at, you know, a guy like Tom Brady, who was, speaking of Tom Brady, I saw this funny quote about Drew Bledsoe. He said, or yeah, Drew Bledsoe says Tom Brady was the worst backup quarterback in NFL history. He realized that when the starter got healthy, he was supposed to give him back his job, and he didn't do it. And that was kind of a funny, deflection of humor at Drew Bledsoe's, very difficult situation, by the way. And that one was just horrible, that he lost his job like that. I mean, it was horrible. And Bill Belichick, to his credit, was like, yeah, we're going to go with Brady and see where he takes him. I mean, the whole thing is just remarkable. It certainly goes against the grain of any maybe traditional common sense thinking of the day, and it was the right move. There's no question about it. It was absolutely the right move. So, um, but this whole concept of quarterbacks and just having the it factor, and that's, and so there's levels. There's guys in college that have the it factor, and it doesn't necessarily translate into the pros because there is a skill set. Like, that's the thing. You can have the it factor all freaking day long, but you still have to deliver, and it's being able to deliver on all of the throws, right? That's just it to me. Like, can you get that line shot down the sideline cover two coverage, or do you hit those or deep outs, deep comebacks, or just all the different throws you have to make. And because some guys can't do it. Some guys can throw the ball underneath intermediate all freaking day long, but when the defenses force them to put the ball down the field in some form or fashion, they just don't have the capability to do it, and do it under duress in a very challenging situation. And duress, really, if you've never played the position, there's so much like stuff just all around you, and it's frenetic. I mean, these defensive linemen and these offensive linemen are in just a battle to the death. I mean, it's mortal combat on every single play, and these defensive linemen they're bred to despise and destroy quarterbacks, and the offensive linemen, they're like, not on my watch kind of thing. And so it's really quite a fascinating battle that goes on, and tremendous athleticism and courage, I believe, happens every single week when these offense and defensive linemen go after it. And so you're kind of right in the mix of all that stuff, and it's just a fascinating phenomenon, having lived it and understanding it, and just watching these quarterbacks, the ones who are able to get it. And you look at Sam Darnold, who was considered a bust, and but it's hard to say bust because, well, it's you go on the slow death march, right? You're an early first round pick quarterback. It doesn't pan out with the team for whatever reason, and then you just make these slow auditions to these other teams, and eventually you just kind of slide off into oblivion, and that's it. And Sam Darnold was well on his way to doing that, and he got in a bad situation in Carolina. He got in a good situation with the 49ers and got into a really good situation with the Minnesota Vikings. And it wasn't, it was more of just, he got in the it was really, he was massively fortunate. And I'm not taking anything away from Sam Darnold, but because here's the bottom line. When you get your opportunity to play, and you will in the NFL, you just have to make it happen. Like there's just no way around it. You just got to make it happen. All right, so so it's fascinating, this whole quarterback situation, this whole thing about like the it factor, who makes it, and this transfer portal, I think, is one of those things that really, to me, in certain circumstances, is a telltale sign, because it's like you got to have your quarterback, and you got to find that guy, and the guy's got to, be the right fit at the right time, the right system. And I'll go back to Carson Beck. Early on it didn't look like it, but it really panned out over the course of the season to be that way. And I think that's one of the big challenges with these quarterbacks moving. Can they assimilate into the programs they're in and be not just pedestrian and do the job, but can they really have to excel? I mean, if you're going to win a national championship, guys got to play at a very, very high level. And can they do it? Because it takes time to assimilate into programs. Okay, so here's this list of the top 25 um, programs, and I'm not going to go into depth into all of them, but of course, number one is Indiana, and a lot of the reason is Josh Hoover, who of course was at TCU in the Big 12, and he was kind of under certain metrics was the highest rated quarterback. I guess you can spin the narrative however you want. And I look at a guy like Josh Hoover, and I go, he's talented, right? The guy's thrown for almost 9,000 yards, I think, or more. I remember at Utah, Charlie Brewer, who was a Baylor quarterback who had been very prolific, came to Utah. Boy, everyone was excited. This guy's going to really make it happen. They started him over Cam Rising, and it just never panned out. And then, of course, Cam Rising did, and Utah went to 2 Rose Bowls and won 2 Pac-12 championships. But so here's Josh Hoover, kind of this guy, been prolific, and does he have that it factor? Because at TCU they haven't really done a lot. I mean, there was a lot of expectation with TCU, but there was not the same production. Now and this is my point about these transferring. Do guys have a maturity level? Is there something that goes into going into a new school and a new environment? And I think there's a growth period for that. I think a fresh start, a new beginning, a new change kind of helps maybe sometimes where you just get rid of. And I don't think there's baggage with Josh Hoover, but there's just kind of and I can only imagine how exciting it would be to go with Kirk Signetti at Indiana, and where they are, and the buzz around Indiana right now. It's next level. And so, but he's walking into a massively high expectation, and you almost get a sense that Indiana's fortune for next year is riding on Josh Hoover. And does he have the it? Is he a guy that is he pedestrian? Can he? Where do his yards, where do his production come? Are they garbage yards? Are they a lot of yards because you're losing yards, or are they at really critical, important parts of the game? So they're the number one rated team in the transfer portal, only because they have what was considered the number one rated quarterback in the portal. It remains to be seen, and it was really what stimulated this whole thought process about quarterbacks. And really, do they have the it factor? And you should go to Texas as number 2. They have a quarterback, and you ask yourself, does he have it? Does Arch Manning have it? These Manning typically players, they like to stay in college, 5 years or through their whole thing, and there's kind of a growth process with Peyton and Eli, and they grew into phenomenal players, but it wasn't just off the shelf. Boom, here we go. And you've kind of seen that with Arch. I think everyone's felt like Arch Manning was just going to step in and off Texas goes, and But my whole thing about Texas, so that their top pick is Cam Coleman, wide receiver from Auburn, and I look at Texas and I go, here, if there's a program that always starts on third base, it's Texas. Like, they've done less with more, better than anyone in the country. And it's remarkable how, and they're always in it, they're always considered in it, they're always in that discussion of it, and yet they just seem to never quite perform. I mean, this is the University of Tech. Like, there's so much tradition here. There's so much pomp and circumstance with Texas, and yet you just don't see the results. And I don't get it. I don't get how you can have so much and perform with so little. I mean, everyone now is kind of under a microscope. I mean, like, you look at Georgia, you look at Alabama, and it's like, yeah, they have it. They don't have it any better than Texas. And why has Texas not been like Georgia and Alabama like they should be? It's the same with Ohio State. I mean, it's the same with USC. Like, USC, if you want to talk about, we should do a show on the furthest down third base these programs are, and the ones who've actually not been able to get to home plate, and because there's a whole bunch of them. Like, to me, I want to say for the past, I don't know, 12 years, I've just been baffled by USC. Like, it should be with what Pete Carroll had at USC all the time. I thought Lincoln Riley getting to USC was just going to blow the doors off it, and it didn't. Now the next one is Notre Dame. I know Martin will be happy about this one, and it's interesting because their whole thing is defensive tackle, and here's the thing. Okay, no offense to all you defensive tackles out there, but you ain't moving the needle on things. Now I know they have this young quarterback and Carr, and that they've got a lot of the pieces that are there, and I understand that defensive tackles are probably an easier position to fill, and it's kind of like, if that's your top portal edition, unless you just really feel you've got everything around. Because for me, it's really simple. It's a quarterback, it's an edge rusher, and it's in that order. It's a tackle, and it's a cornerback, right? And that's where you have, and then really with the pass crazy football, these elite wide receivers. The thing is there's a lot of really good wide receivers in the country. So that just kind of and then number 4 is Georgia. And here's what I don't understand about some of these blue bloods, because you got Georgia in there, you go to Ohio State at 6, you got you got some of these like elite programs, and you're just asking yourself, why are they in here? Like, if you're Georgia, and every year you're getting these elite players in high school, why in the world would you have to go out and go in the transfer portal? Like, to me, the portal I would go into is my backyard. Like, I would spend all my money and all my resources on preserving what I had on my team. And keeping that continuity, because that's part of what has made these teams so great. Is I believe is that they've had continuity, they've had depth, they've had players that have watched and learned and developed with each other. I mean, if you're at Georgia and Alabama every day at practice, you're practicing against NFL caliber talent, and over the course of your entire stay at Georgia, to have 5 years of practicing and training with the best athletes in the country, it's only going to make you better. If you're practicing on a team that that their scout team is walk-ons and preferred, whatever, and 2-star athletes, that's getting you nowhere. But if you go to Georgia and Alabama, and it's like 5 stars are your scout team, your look team, you're going to be better. I'm just fascinated by this whole idea that these great schools, Oregon, that have this, have to go in the portal. Like, it just, I don't get it. And they all got money, so it's just like, it. Anyways, use your money wisely, I guess, is the question. Oregon, their top addition's a safety. Again, I'm just gonna say safety is like, and it's like, you know, I don't know. These are weird. This is a weird list because it's like, and I know they have the quarterback. Like I get it. Like, so it's not like they need a quarterback, but it's so it's not so it's why rank them high for a safety when it's really about maybe that adds depth, maybe it makes a difference on their team. I don't know. Same thing. It's like Ohio State is 6, and it's just Ohio State, Georgia is the same thing. Now, Texas Tech is another interesting one, and this is that quarterback situation because really the quarterback at Texas Tech a year ago was just kind of average at best, and it's fascinating because Texas Tech has typically been an offensively explosive team, and now they have they nailed it on defense. I mean, they just really nailed it on defense. So Brendan Sorsby, who I really liked at Cincinnati, like I mean, if you talk about talent, man, that dude was, I think, as good as anything I saw in college football. Now, from a mental perspective, Utah kind of really took it to him a year ago, and I was like, man, it just didn't seem like he was, up to. So it'll be interesting to see how well he performs when he's under the big spotlight. Really, I mean, that's the big takeaway for me with all of these lists is, who are these? Same thing. Miami's at 8, and the Darian Mensah, which we mentioned earlier, about had to get a decision from a judge to actually be allowed to go, and he could be you got Miami that's really turned a corner. And and the corner is that you get there and you go, okay, we know we can do this. We know we can get to a national championship game, and so that's not a surprise to them anymore. Is he the guy that can kind of get them over the top? Ole Miss is 9, Texas A&M is 10, and again, Texas A&M, I'm going to plug them on my third base. They got more money than God. They have, and they got to the playoffs. But they just seem to crumble in the biggest moments. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to I don't know. We'll figure out how to do it. Anyways, so BYU is 11. That was a fascinating one. BYU is going to be fascinating just from this perspective of losing Jay Hill. Of course, they had a wide receiver who isn't with the program, Parkster Kingston, who's a big part of their production on their team, and so that'll be fascinating. And so the list goes on, and it's just a kind of the cast of characters. But the biggest thing for me, like LSU got Sam Levitt, and that's Lane Kiffin, and they're at 15. And what is that going to look? Because I look at a lot of these other places, and it's like they got a wide receiver, they got a running back. I don't know. It doesn't really make it exciting. Of course, here in the state of Utah, Michigan is at 18, and it's funny because it's like their biggest gets are John Henry Daly, which, by the way, was a great get. As long as John Henry Daly is healthy, man, I would take a team of John Henry Dalys. And Kyle Whittingham, of course, he got Smith Snowden, he got J.J. Buchanan, he got Jonah Lea'ea, and of course Salisi Moa, who was really a 5-star recruit. I mean, he got the best of what Utah had. And that sucks for Utah people, myself included. Not happy about that. But it is what it is. But Utah, they were in the top 25. So I'm not sure why in the transfer portal, Brandon Pagan, a wide receiver from Utah State, is their top portal addition. We'll see how this all pans out, but fascinating stuff. So, all right, let's take a break. We'll come back, and we've got a question, I believe, from Martin and some NFL news of note when the Down and Dirty returns.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Down and Dirty with Scott Mitchell. So glad you could join us and do all that fun stuff and like and subscribe just because it's fun to do. I do it all the time. In fact, I've liked and subscribed to my show like multiple times. I think I'm our biggest fan, and I don't want to be. I want you to be our biggest fan. So join in, check us out. We love to get down and dirty. Speaking of getting down and dirty, so Martin, my ever loyal producer, of course, is joining us right now. Ronda Rousey is back.
Yeah,
and of course she's a former dominant UFC star. She's actually making her return to the octagon. I know that for whatever reason, I'm not a big MMA guy. I'm really not. It doesn't move my needle. I did go to something that was quite fascinating with my youngest son. So here, if you can take this image, you need to understand. So me, not much of a fighter, and a guy named Mark Wilson, former All-American quarterback at BYU, played in the NFL for a whole bunch of years. Mark goes, "Hey, you want to go watch bare knuckle fighting?" Apparently, his son is legal representation for this bare knuckle fight league, and so we go, "Yeah, we'll go watch it." And when we got done, I said, "What do you think, Zach?" And he goes, it's really it's like it's riveting. It's like, and we were right at courtside or ringside, and he goes, "I think I'm going to be sick though." And as we were walking out, and it's just because bare knuckles, like it's pretty raw, and it was pretty raw. But anyway, so I haven't been, it's not really my thing, but Ronda Rousey, man, she's the deal, and she's actually coming back, and I guess folks are excited about it. And for some reason, I don't know why, because I am talking about this on my show about Ronda, and so what is her appeal, Martin? Why are so many people just fascinated by it?
It was during that time of the mid 2010s when her and Conor McGregor were just knocking people out left and right in under a minute. She's got the famous arm bar. She, rolls over you and grabs your arm and gets you into a lock. You kind of quit after a couple seconds because you don't want her to pop your shoulder out or anything like that. So her rise and just true dominance in like 3 years of dominating the sport was such a riveting type thing that people couldn't ignore. And she last fought in 2016, then took a break and went over to WWE, obviously, to do some fun stuff over there. Did movies, did all that, had a family. So she's back. Let's see if Ronda Rousey still got
Ronda
her.
Rousey did movies?
Yeah, she was in the Fast and Furious franchise. She was in one of those movies, just kicking butt, driving cars, trying to look
those your
cool on
shows?
camera.
Are you a Fast and Furious movie buff?
I was at a certain point the movies just got completely over exaggerated. But
Yeah.
at the first like 5 movies, I was such a fan of them because there was a story to tell. But Rhonda was in Fast and Furious 7, which was in like Abu Dhabi, and which was pretty cool to see.
Abu
But
Dhabi do.
yeah, there you go. But yeah, she's coming back. She's gonna fight Gina Carano. She's a really good MMA fighter. She's from the lower leagues. She's fought her way up. She's also fought in UFC. So this is gonna be a really good fight between two good fighters.
Very nice. All right. We have some NFL news of note. And Martin actually at the end of this has a question for me. So I'm going to go through some of this stuff. And this is the time of year when teams have to make decisions on free agency, on players that they have on their team. And you can see teams kind of having to make some of those challenging decisions. And so, of course, the Seattle Seahawks, a Super Bowl winning team, and you always wonder because there's, you wonder how dominant, or is this a one hit wonder? Is this a team that could be a dynasty? Could they really make a significant run at this for several years? Kind of what happened with the Kansas City Chiefs, where they got Patrick Mahomes at the right time. They got the right pieces around him. They had to give up some of those pieces. And one of those pieces, of course, is Tyreek Hill, which, because they just can't afford him. And what happens is when your team does well, then everyone thinks they're the most important reason and the reason why you did well. And so they want to capitalize on this, which is what Tyreek Hill did. And of course, Tyreek Hill, you really wonder if he said right now today, man, I'd be so much better off had I stayed in Kansas City. And it's a tough question to ask yourself because you go, do I go for the money or do I go for legacy and maybe longer term stability and take a little bit less? Like Tom Brady was undervalued as a quarterback for years, and he knew that they probably weren't going to keep him at the Patriots if he demanded the top dollar. And he understood, he still made very, very good money, and he was there for a long. But quarterbacks, a little bit different situation. I mean, wide receivers can play a long time in the NFL, especially today. So it's a tough. There's like a line, right? And it's just like, at what level am I comfortable being and staying on a team? Can I live with this? Can I live with this dollar amount? Can I make that work? And the problem is when you win, everyone goes, heck no. Like, I'm the dude. I'm the guy. Like, I want to get paid. You look at, I remember seeing this, I want to say for the first time, when the Chicago Bears, Martin, won the Super Bowl in 1985. And I was like, these guys are going to dominate for years. Like, they're young and they've got this incredible defense, and they just have it. And it just imploded in a very short period of time. And the Chicago Bears were just, and I think everyone just got drunk with success and felt like they were the most important part of everything. And everyone's ego got involved because they wanted to be recognized as the reason why we won.
Yeah.
And it just, and you think of Wilbur Marshall, and he's like, I don't want to get paid. And so, you kind of, and they're just all these different things. And I'm not faulting any of these players, believe me, because, when you have an opportunity in your life to have an income that really sets you up for the rest of your life, that's a hard thing to turn down. And it's hard because, these careers typically are short compared to your lifespan. And so being able to provide an income that helps you through the rest of your life is a remarkable achievement to be able to do, and to do it at a young age. And you can do it. And so there's certainly that allure, but I think so often it's more than that. I think it's just the ego thing. So the Seahawks, they've won the Super Bowl. They're a very young team. They're a very complete team. And that's the biggest thing about them is there isn't that ego. There isn't that one guy per se that just goes, I'm the straw that stirs the drink here, and I got to get paid. But they're their MVP, Super Bowl MVP running back, Kenneth Walker, is like, he's going to become a free agent in the spring, and probably be highly sought after in the NFL. And it's unlikely that they're going to use. Now, why is it unlikely they're going to actually use the franchise tags on Kenneth Walker? Is it because there's other because for me, Martin, is like, well, the running back position kind of got revived maybe a little bit in the last few years. I know Emmett Smith will be happy about this. That the here a running back actually was the MVP of a Super Bowl, and so why is it that they don't want to put a tag, I guess, on Kenneth Walker?
The reasons are that I think the tag would be close over $15 million for Kenneth Walker, and so I think the Seattle Seahawks are being very cautious, considering they got to pay about three or four of their defensive players to come back and try to fit them all under the cap for next season. Seattle is within the margin of, I think, around either the top 15 or the top 20 in cap space for next season. They do have a good amount of space, but I don't think they're going to want to use it all up in this offseason to keep everybody around. They also have Zach Charbonnet, who was one of the most leading backs for them this past season until he tore his ACL versus the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round. So they're trying to be smart with Kenneth Walker's value. I don't think they want to put the tag on him and then try to do a long-term deal and have themselves in a little bit of a cap situation going down the road. It's unfortunate because Walker has been really one of their strong backs the last couple of years for them. But like you said, it's always that situation where you have five or six guys after a Super Bowl title run that you have to pay to fit them all under the cap, and you just got to choose two or three of those guys that you look at are
Yeah.
like, all right, these are long term, and unfortunately, you'll let some of these guys go, or try to do a short term bridge deal and see if there's cap space down the road.
Yeah, I think the shock of it is like this guy was big reason why he won the Super Bowl.
Right.
And but I think what the deal is with the Seahawks is they're built on, if it wasn't Kenneth Walker, it would have been somebody else, right? It's
Exactly.
just it's not like, oh, we're absolutely relying on this guy by himself. Now I'm sure Kenneth Walker was able to benefit from not platooning, because Zach Charbonnet is a very good player, and but when you're kind of I mean, there's you platoon guys a lot of time to preserve guys, and you kind of go, we have these two running backs that we really like, and we're going to kind of ride them through the season. So when you get to the end of the season, you can go with one guy because there's no more season, right? It's the end of the season. You only have so many games, and it's a type, right? They understand, if Kenneth Walker walks and goes somewhere else, Zach Charbonnet comes back, and they look for that other 1-2 punch to kind of help him out. But it's the shock of, man, this guy was so great in the Super Bowl, and yeah, sorry, but it's just kind of it's the business side of the NFL, which is what's fascinating. Now, the Dolphins also cleaned house. They cut Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, and they're expected to do more, but it looks like Tua is going to stick around. The thing about the thing about a guy like Tyreek, because I'm just sitting here, and again, it's one of those, it's just like the production, maybe the drama, the show, whatever that comes along with it isn't worth the price, and maybe a lot of it is we don't even know if Tua is going to be around. So what is it? Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, you get a new coach, you get a new GM in, and you just go, these are just guys that no, we just need a clean, fresh start. Let's start over. Let's move on. And there could be it's interesting. Um, Tyreek was amazing with the Chiefs, and yet Andy Reid did not keep him around. and it seems like he kind of wears out his welcome, and it just I just have a sense of that. Amazingly talented, and I'm sure he's going to end up somewhere, and you just have to wonder, what are you going to get when he feels like a guy. If Bill Belichick was still in the league, he would be a guy that Bill Belichick could kind of handle, and he kind of get him at a discounted rate and still get a lot of production out of him. Where do you think a guy like Tyreek Hill ends up?
I think Tyreek's going to end up definitely with a contending team, but I think, teams that I can think of are, the one that Bill Belichick used to coach in New England could obviously use him in that situation. I think Buffalo would be a perfect situation where he comes in, he's dynamic right away. There's conversations about maybe possibly San Francisco. There's conversations possibly about, a return to Kansas City. I think those are fun destinations for Tyreek Hill. It all depends on what type of deal Tyreek Hill wants to do. I don't think he's going to get a long term deal of a 3 or 4 year contract. He's on the other side of 30. I think if he gets a 2 year deal, manageable money, close to 20 million, 10 per year, I think he'll be happy with that. He's gonna be sought out. There's no denying that one. It's just whether he wants to take a short deal and work his way up back to the level that he was. There's no denying that his production was up there. It was over 1,000 yards. Majority of the seasons he was with Miami. The situation is Scott is you know coming off a very serious leg injury is no joke. We've seen players try to do this, especially at a wide receiver position, torn ACLs. You got to work your way back. His agent and Tyreek have both said he's, walking out without a cane or with crutches, and he's walking without a boot. So he says he's doing good. So he's getting ready to work out and get back into football shape. We'll see what he does since coming July or August. But if he's there, whatever team gets him in a contending position, I don't think he's going to go to a bottom feeder. Obviously not. But if he goes to a contending team, he'll be a really legitimate player to put him on the map.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what it's just can you get over the drama of him? There just seems to be drama, and if you can
Yeah,
find a way to go, look, we just want the production, we just want you to be amazing and fast and
yeah.
catch the ball and score touchdowns, and just leave the drama at the door. I think a team could really benefit from a guy like Tyreek Hill. Derek Carr, of course, one of the Carr brothers in really was putting together a very nice career with John Gruden and the Raiders, and then that kind of fell apart. Of course, he went to um, the um, the Saints and was doing well, and then a very got a really challenging injury, and really lost kind of the mojo to play anymore. And I think we all go through those moments in our life where we just go, yeah, I'm not feeling the motivation. Think of Andrew Luck and some of these other players, a lot of injuries, and they just go, the emotional toll it takes on me to get myself back into the mindset of playing is just more than I'm willing to bear right now. And they just like, and I think it makes it easier when these guys make a lot of money because they're just like, yeah, I don't really need to do this anymore. Then they get out of it for a couple of years, and that's the thing that I think is really hard. And I'm always a person that just says, man, play until they literally carry you off the field, because this is the only time you can do this in your life. And I know so many people, there's a train of thought that, hey, don't be embarrassing. Like, go out with something. And it's like, man, go out when I'm not of that opinion. And I'm not, because I really think that it's a special thing, and not many people get an opportunity to do it. And I would do it and try to do it as long as I could possibly do it, and then move on with your life. And it's a lot easier transition because it's really hard when it's over. Like, and I think in my mind, for me, when it was over, it was just over. Like, and so there was no injury. There was no, like, I still think, I know I could have still continued to play, but there just wasn't a place to play, and that's hard. It's hard to understand. It's hard to deal with. It's like, well, why don't you like me anymore? And you did before, like literally, like this. It's just like one day you did and one day you didn't. It's just a weird thing. And so Derek Carr wants to come back and play, and I'm excited about this. I'm glad that he does and that he wants to do this. And the question is kind of where, where would be a good fit for someone like Derek Carr? And he says he wants to win a championship. And so I wonder the challenge of that, right, is well, most of the teams that are kind of in contention to win championships are teams that actually have really good quarterback situations. So it's kind of a tough squeeze, somewhere that makes a lot of sense. And there are a few teams here that certainly do make a lot of sense. I think there's one that probably makes the most sense if it was me. And I think the ones that are interesting and intriguing, one is Minnesota, right? I mean, if I'm a quarterback in the NFL and you see a guy like Kevin O'Connell who's really had a very significant history of really having excellent quarterback play from a lot of different quarterbacks, you go, he's you look at Kirk Cousins, you look at Sam Darnold, you go on and on and on. But you also have to ask yourself, it looks like it was a little porous there the last year. And there's JJ McCarthy, and that's just an odd situation when you have this young quarterback who they like and they drafted high and they've got a lot invested in this guy and they know that it takes time to develop guys and everyone doesn't develop on the same timeline, but they do develop. And so if you're Derek Carr, it's like, do I really want to get in that situation? I don't know. And then Michael Penix at Atlanta, you know, the question is Atlanta a team that can win a Super Bowl? And I think Minnesota certainly was a contender. It feels like Atlanta's moving in the right direction. There's a lot of pieces there in Atlanta. It certainly feels that way. But again, you're Derek Carr, and it's like, yeah, you go into a situation and kind of like, I got to wait around until this guy screws up or gets injured or whatever. And that's not the best situation to be in. But the one I think, Martin, is Indianapolis. And I think because you have Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones is injured. Who knows how he comes back or what he comes back. I think I'd almost maybe it's it because it does have its challenge because Daniel Jones was a guy that and what a great name for him, by the way, Indiana Jones. I mean, it just fits so great, right? It just really does.
It
Like
worked.
that's just something that like it's a movie that I can watch over and over again. But
Absolutely.
Daniel Jones to me is I don't know, does he come back? When does he come back? Kind of thing. It certainly seems it's almost it's almost a toss up, I guess. It seems like I guess there's less patience with a Daniel Jones situation because he only had the 1 year. He's a guy they picked up. He doesn't have when you draft a guy, there's just tendency to really hold on to it a lot longer because everyone doesn't want to look stupid that they picked this guy. And so they're it's just a thing that happens often in the NFL. And so and what happens is, you're sitting there going, man, we're just wasting reps because we got to get this guy, some experience. And it's like, man, I can come in and just, we can be off and running right now. And that's a little bit more frustrating. Whereas you get a Daniel Jones situation and, is he healthy and can I step in the beginning and be in the right place? I mean, the reality is, those are probably the best places. I don't know. Is there
Mhm.
anywhere else, or does anything else make sense to you?
Two places make sense to me in the sense that if injuries happen that they're out of your control, um, I would say one is Denver. Obviously, we saw
Oh,
it in the AFC title game. Jared Stidham
yeah.
wasn't the guy. Who knows what happens if Bo Nix is healthy for that game. But if there's that situation where Bo Nix gets hurt again, you have a veteran quarterback in Derek Carr who could understand the complex language of Sean Payton's offense and try to do his very best in a one game situation or in a month situation. He wouldn't take over the team. It's obviously still Bo Nix' team. And then two, it's the same situation, you know, for the San Francisco 49ers. There's likely that they won't be able to keep Mac Jones. And if you need a veteran quarterback to back up Brock Purdy, again, an injury situation where you have to put in somebody right away, Derek Carr makes sense to me. Two teams that are teams that just need someone to, drive the ship. Don't do anything stupid. Don't go over any cliffs. Don't crash into any waves. Just get it home and we'll be fine. And then if there's a Super Bowl championship on the other side of that, he'll be rewarded for it. But I think those two legitimate contending teams make sense. The three teams we talked about with Minnesota, Indianapolis, and Atlanta, my top two out of those three is Minnesota and Indy. They just
Yeah.
make total sense. Quarterback, likely, friendly coaches. The offense is simple. They both have a decent running game, especially with Indy with Jonathan Taylor. It's just those make so much sense. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Derek Carr
No, those
is,
are,
yeah,
those are good picks. Like they're good picks. Well, the 49ers, the Broncos, because of the coaches, right? And
yeah.
they're friendly to quarterbacks in those situations. And maybe it's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Who
Maybe,
knows? That's also, Patrick Mahomes is injured, Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Why not? And if you're gonna have fun, if there's an offense out there that's so much fun to run, regardless of wins or losses, Scott, it's Andy Reid's offense. I mean, it's so much fun. Like, why would you not want to hear in your headset, "Hey, call cheeseburger. Let's call a cheeseburger and let's see what it does." I want to know.
I agree. All right, we're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to tank. I'm going to show you how we tank on this show when the Down and Dirty returns.
For 75 years, Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. No gimmicks, just durable, well-designed bottles built to last. Join us on our mission to amplify life, not complicate it. Because at Nalgene, what goes into our bottles matters as much as the adventures they fuel. Explore more at nalgene.com. That's NALGENE.com.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, we've got your team's colors running through our veins. From official replica kits to custom player prints of your favorite stars like Ronaldo, Messi, and Kane, Kitbag is your one-stop shop for all things football. Powered by Fanatics, we deliver to over 180 countries, ensuring you get the gear you need fast. For true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's kitbag.com. Kitbag.
Farmhound's approach is a little different than a traditional treat company. We get to work with local farmers who are putting everything they can into regenerative farming. From the soil to the animals to the ecosystem. They care about how animals are raised and how we treat the earth. It's not just product, but it's part of that story. It's connected to just a whole lot more.
Hey, sports fans, welcome back to the show. We are no longer going to do the show. In fact, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines, and I'm going to take the fourth quarter and just not play. So the show will just run. I don't know if Zach or Martin wants to jump on. They certainly can, but I need to take a break. I've got an issue with my ankle. I'm on load management. My emotional heartstrings are being tugged right now, and I just don't know if I can finish out the fourth quarter of this show. So that is my option to tank. We're looking to bring in new talent and better people on the show, and so we're just gonna tank our way through the rest of the day. Now I kid you, but that's so this whole tanking thing in the NBA, the whole NBA thing and the NBA thing is driving me bananas, just so you know. And it has for years. And here so of course I'm a long-suffering Utah Jazz fan, have been from its inception. I tell you, I punched a hole in my ceiling in exuberance when John Stockton hit the shot to beat the Houston Rockets to go to the NBA Finals. I hate Michael Jordan. He pushed off on Brian Russell. We all know it, and that's how I feel about my Utah Jazz. Anyways, so now they've gone through this exercise in, bringing in Danny Ainge, new ownership in Ryan Smith, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna rip off the Band-Aid. We're getting rid of Donovan Mitchell. We're getting rid of Rudy Gobert, and we're gonna go out and we're gonna get assets, and we're gonna have a parade in Utah. We're gonna have a championship, and that was 4 years ago. And I'm like, what's going on? And we all suffered through tanking a year ago. And everyone's on board with it. Like, yeah, we get it. We understand. We know because that's the rules. That's the circumstances that you're in the NBA. And that's the problem with all of this to begin with, right? Is like, what are you supposed to do? Like if you're a team, if you're like the Utah Jazz, I'll give you a team in the NFL that kind of has the same challenge. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers under Mike Tomlin were good enough to not be bad. They make the playoffs. They have 10-win seasons, but they're never in a position to get the guy, to get that, yeah, they got a Ben Roethlisberger once in a millennia kind of thing. And they're really great at how they build their rosters. And it's just a wonderful organization, all these things, but they are just kind of stuck in it. So if you're a team like the Utah Jazz right now, and you have enough to be better than bad, but not good. And so you have draft picks this year, and this is all part of the problem to me, because you have protected picks, you have unprotected picks, you have conditional picks, you have all kinds of picks, and you're just picking your nose is really what you're doing, and you're not getting anywhere. And so you go, I got to protect my picks. And the only way to protect your picks is to be bad. And so the league has set everything up in a way that you go, this is our best option. And a year ago, we're all like, yeah, we're going to tank. We're going to tank with pride. We're going to do it. And I don't think anyone was even like even pretending that they weren't tanking. Like, I think everyone in the organization, I think everyone in the freaking world knew it. And so you have this option because there is a chance. Like, there's a chance that you're going to get one of these generational players. I mean, looks like Cooper Flagg's pretty freaking good. It looks like VJ Edgecombe is pretty freaking good. And these are 1 and 2 in the draft. And so you tank, so you just might get one of those types of players. Now, Ace Bailey drops. And so, so here are the Jazz. And I know I'm not into conspiracy theories, but the Jazz have the worst record in the NBA. And it doesn't mean you're going to get the best player. It means you have a percentage. Everything's a percentage in the NBA. You just want to up your odds of the percentages going in your direction. Like how in the world do you ever build an organization off of percentages? Well, it's likely to happen. It's a good chance it might happen. And so we got to, so you get more draft picks, and you get all these draft picks because you hope that with all these draft picks, you can eventually pick a player that ends up being Karl Malone, or and you just hope. And there's times you look at Nikola Jokic and you go, that was a second round pick. Like that doesn't happen very often, but if you give yourself enough percentage, it improves your chances of getting a player like that. And it's just I want to tear my hair out with all of this tanking stuff that the league doesn't, it's so arbitrary. It's so just hopeful, because the Jazz had the highest likelihood. They had the worst record, the highest likelihood of getting the best pick and they didn't get it. They got the worst scenario that they possibly could get for being as bad as they were at 5. And it feels like and again, you wonder, the NBA goes, "Oh yeah, you tank and you get the worst record, we'll show you." And I know it's again odds, percentages, and if they go your way, great. If they don't, sucks to be you. And so what are you supposed to do with how the rules are, how everything is structured, and especially with these picks? And you just go, look, we're not going to go to the playoffs, or if we're, maybe we're a play-in team, maybe we're an 8 team. I don't know. And so you just go, yeah, we're gonna try to take advantage of the rules the best we can. And I don't know why anyone could argue it. And I'll just tell you, like, it stinks. It does. It's just like it just absolutely stinks the way it's set up. But here's the other part of it that, everyone wants to talk about tanking, and we got to figure out a way to get rid of tanking. We got to figure out a way to go around this. And, because you run into the same situation if you just go like the NFL does. But the NFL, I guarantee you, these teams that, pick in the first pick in the draft, I guarantee you they're tanking. I guarantee it. I guarantee whoever has the first pick in the draft this year, they get to a point and go, look, we're not going to win here, so we're going to get the worst record we possibly can. And and it's easier in the NFL because you only have 17 games in a regular season, and the NBA is brutally harder. And so it's I just, so if you went to a model where you just said, the worst team gets the best pick, you're still going to have teams tank. Like, you're never going to get rid of tanking in the NBA, and I don't know that it's so bad from the standpoint of, if you really stink as a team, because the argument is, well, how bad really are they? Who is really the worst team in the league? And I think that was the argument. But how do you do it any different? Like eventually it's like, okay, well, if you go through the system of, we're supposedly the worst team, and you do get those good players, and then you start winning again, then great. Then someone else is in that cycle of poverty, and they have to tank themselves out of it with a better player. I don't know, but it's not good. I'll just tell you, it's not good. It's not a good situation, but it is a part of the sport, and it is how it is. But here's the challenge, right? People go, I don't want to go watch this. And I think Utah Jazz fans go, I want to go watch because I understand the process. I understand that they're in a sense, we're losing right now, but we're really winning. We're making a commitment to really winning. It's been massively frustrating to be a Utah Jazz fan and never won a championship, to be just good enough not to be bad. Like, that stinks. And I'd rather go through the turmoil of all of this tanking in order to have a shot at that phenomenal player and putting together that team that can win a championship. Now, the other side of this is not tanking, but it's load management. And I think it's every bit as bad as tanking in the NBA. And it is, and I think it's worse, actually. And I think it's worse because these are players who are only not playing because they just don't want to. And you're a fan, and you tune in to watch them. And if they're not performing, then you're like, you're not like, why am I spending all this money? So I can understand the fans supporting a tanking team. I can't understand fans supporting a load management team. I just can't. And I know these teams, and they just go, we want preservation for the playoffs because the playoffs are so long. We want our guys fresh. We want them ready for the playoffs. And I'm just like, man, y'all got too long a season then. And I had a lady who just really ripped me on baseball. She's like, we love the longness of baseball. And it's like, great. I get it. But, do the fans really, really want to tune in? And, she's like, I am a diehard fan of baseball. And it's like, okay, great. You tune in then. But I just, if players aren't playing now, baseball, I think is different. These guys show up more, I'm not comparing baseball to basketball right now, but they do have long seasons. But the basketball season, the tanking is a bad thing, but load management, in my opinion, is worse. There you have it. We have now gotten down and dirty for the day. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a great day. And until then, we'll see you then.